All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to go way beyond simple business problems. We're diving deep into the messy, high stakes world of leadership dilemmas. You know, those situations where the choices are tough and the right answers are nowhere to be found. Okay, let's get into it. I mean, just listen to that definition. Forget about easy fixes. This is what a real dilemma is. It's not some sudden disaster. It's a crossroads where you know that no matter which path you take, it's going to hurt a little. And that, right there, is the reality that leaders are dealing with every single day. So if dilemmas aren't just one-off disasters, then what are they? Well, think of them as challenges that keep coming back, again and again. They're born from these fundamental forces that are just always there, simmering under the surface of any organization. And understanding those forces, that's the first step to figuring out how to handle them. So for this explainer, we're going to break it down into 4 core drivers. First, there's the human factor, the people in the room. Then you've got changing situations, the world outside. Of course, there's the immense pressure of money. And finally, a big one, just plain confusion over what the board is even supposed to be doing. These 4 things are what create these incredibly intense challenges. Let's start with the one that's, well, the most powerful and, let's be honest, the most unpredictable of all, the human element. I mean, you get a bunch of smart, ambitious people together in a high-pressure room, and you have the absolute perfect recipe for a dilemma. So meet Amanda. She's the CEO of Devco, a really successful medical device company. She is an absolute force of nature, energetic, a fantastic salesperson, and the real engine behind the company's growth. And as you're about to see, she's also at the dead center of its biggest dilemma. And this quote? Wow. It just says it all, doesn't it? That's Amanda's mindset in a nutshell. Her ambition has no limits, and it's pushed the company to do amazing things. But that exact same drive, that nonstop push for more, it might just be the company's greatest weakness. Okay, so this brings us to a really fascinating concept, the entrepreneur's ear. It's this sort of superpower that lets visionaries like Amanda tune out all the naysayers and achieve the impossible. But here's the catch. Success can act like earwax. It starts to clog up that selective hearing until they literally can't hear the warnings they desperately need to. You know, it's not always about who someone is fundamentally. Sometimes it's about the journey they're on. Leaders go through these really intense psychological rides. This chart here shows what they call the emotional roller coaster of stepping into a big new role. It's a surprisingly universal pattern of incredible highs and really crushing lows. Let's trace the path, shall we? You start out with this really rosy picture of the future, but then reality hits, and it can be paralyzing, leading to disbelief. But here's the one I really want you to focus on, stage 4, incompetence. It's that gut-wrenching moment where a leader feels totally, completely lost. It's the ultimate sink-or-swim moment, and to get through it, they have to change, fundamentally. And you know what? This isn't just something individuals go through. Whole companies, especially growing ones, often act like teenagers. This word cloud just captures that chaotic energy perfectly. It's this wild mix of feeling totally infallible one minute and deeply threatened the next. All that ambition is mixed with a massive fear of failure, all at the same time. Okay, so that's one side of the human factor. Now let's pivot to another, ethical pressure. This is Jim. He's the CEO of a company called Raceco, and on paper, his results look fantastic. But just beneath the surface, a really serious ethical dilemma is about to blow up. And boom, here it is right from the source. Jim was asked about a radio program that exposed child labor in Southeast Asia, and this was his response. He's so defensive. And he's not just brushing it off, he's basically admitting that his company's profits are tied to suppliers using child labor. It's a textbook dilemma where money and morals are in a head-on collision. All right, let's shift gears to our second major driver, changing situations. Because look, dilemmas don't just pop up out of nowhere. They happen in a context. A sudden market shift, a new technology, or even an internal change can take a company's winning formula and turn it into a one-way ticket to disaster. Okay, look at this. These 2 charts, they tell you everything you need to know about Amanda's company, Devco. On the left, incredible growth, amazing success story. But then you look at the chart on the right, the future projection. That steep climb just isn't sustainable. This is a classic case of what's called overtrading. They're growing so fast, they're literally burning through all their cash to keep up. Their past success is creating their future crisis. And of course, what does a cash crisis lead to? Well, that brings us to our third driver, the one that makes every other problem 1,000 times worse: money. The hunt for it, the terror of losing it, the arguments over how to spend it, it's at the heart of so many boardroom battles. So let's look at the case of SoftFin. It's just a perfect example of this. On one hand, they have the option to IPO on NASDAQ. We're talking a potential £150 million valuation, huge international profile. On the other hand, they could do a smaller private deal. It would mean less cash, but it would guarantee financial security for the founders, what they called putting money behind the clock. And it would let them keep control, keep their culture. So what do you choose? The massive payday or the soul of the company? You know, this reminds me of that classic Henry Ford quote from, a century ago? It's so true. Pressure, especially the financial kind, doesn't build character. It just reveals what was already there. A fight over money will show you exactly who you're sitting at the table with. Okay, things have been pretty intense so far, right? So before we talk solutions, I want to take a quick detour. A reminder that the human factor we started with can also be just wonderfully absurd. Even in these super serious, high-stakes environments, people are still just people. Get this, a real story from an annual general meeting. The chairman is getting all formal, insisting a questioner stand up to ask his question. And he gets this perfect deadpan response back. It's just a great reminder that you really can never predict what's going to happen next. Or how about this one? A director gets hit with a surprise technical question he can't answer, and he doesn't just freeze up, he literally tips his chair over and vanishes off the stage. It's hilarious, but it also really highlights the kind of intense pressure these folks are under. Okay, so let's pull it all together. We've got ambitious personalities clashing, situations changing on a dime, and the constant pressure of money. And a lot of the time, all of this is made worse by our fourth driver. Nobody's even clear on what the board's job is. So what's the answer? Well, it's not some magic bullet. It's all about having a clear, methodical process to find your way through the maze. So let's circle back to Devco, our runaway train. This is the mess in a nutshell. They're overtrading, their international strategy is a vague dream, nobody knows where the profits are actually coming from, they're burning £3 million with only £1 million left in the bank, and to top it all off, the CEO has a bad case of entrepreneur's ear and doesn't listen to the board anymore. It's a complete tangle. And now, the solution. This is just a brilliant illustration of how to handle chaos. The new director, Gerard, doesn't try to fix it all in one go. He's way smarter than that. He brings a process. He starts at the beginning. What do we all actually want? Then he forces everyone to look at the brutal financial facts. From there, he builds a structured plan to get things back on course. See, he's taming the chaos one methodical step at a time. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that leadership, it's not really about solving neat little problems. It's about navigating these incredibly complex dilemmas where every single choice has a real cost. The best leaders, they don't have all the answers, but what they do have is a process for finding a path through the storm. So the only question left is, how will you navigate yours?